book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about my auto by authors. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And I have wanted to do this topic for quite some time. If you don't happen to know what the term auto by author means, essentially an auto by author is an author you would automatically buy. If you hear about a new release from them, you will immediately grab it, or you see their backlist and you're like, you know what, I want to get that too. That is the best way I can sum it up. Today, I'm going to be talking about some authors that, yes, you have heard before, but I can guarantee that these authors are auto by authors for me, regardless of like what genre they write in. The big difference between an auto by author and an author who just so happened to write one of my favorite series ever essentially comes down to the fact that just because an author has written one of my favorite series ever, it doesn't mean that I will be attracted to a new release from them if they were to write in a different genre. Sometimes I am attracted to authors' writing styles, and other times I am attracted to the genre that they write in. And if their writing style or the way that they write their characters isn't enough to convince me, then I don't consider them to be an auto by author. A perfect example of this would be Cassandra Clare. I love her Shadowhunter Chronicles, and I think I'm gonna read Swordcatcher. However, I wasn't a big fan of her Magisterium series. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't one of my favorite series of all time. I also wouldn't consider Holly Black to be an auto by author, but I'm using Cassandra Clare as an example because I've read a majority of Cassandra Clare's backlist. With Cassandra Clare's books, if she was to write middle grades, or if she was to write something like for a younger audience, or write something with a synopsis that I don't really care for, then I'm not gonna pick her next book up. However, I am interested in Swordcatcher, so I will be reading Swordcatcher. However, the authors I will proceed to talk about in this video today are auto by authors, and I think it's because I can almost kind of guarantee what genre they are going to write in next. But as much as that is the case for majority of this list, there are a few exceptions. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this list of auto by authors, where I will tell you guys who my auto by authors are and why they are my auto by authors. First off, maybe I will talk about an exception to that rule, Olivia Blake. At the moment, I will literally buy anything that Olivia Blake puts out. I think it's because I like her writing style. If you've read The Atlas 6 and if you've read Alone with You in the Ether, you would know that those two books could not be more opposite from each other, and I appreciate both of them equally. Maybe I like Alone with You in the Ether more. However, based on my personal reading taste, The Atlas 6 is the book that I would reach out to first, but I loved Alone with You in the Ether, and if anything, I think Alone with You in the Ether kind of convinced me that Olivia Blake is one of my favorite authors of all time. This is one of my favorite books of all time. It was so powerful. I want to reread it, but at the very same time, I know it will destroy me again if I try it again. So we will see how we go with this, but I am essentially purchasing all of her backlist, or really her front list because they're being re-released. At the moment, every single time I see a new book from her up for pre-order, I will snatch it up. I am just so excited to read more by Olivia Blake. At the end of the day, I don't care what Olivia Blake would write. I mean, I will read her grocery lists and I will be content. The next auto by author I have to mention is quite obvious to those who have been watching me for quite some time, or to those who know what series got me into reading. Yes guys, Veronica Roth is an auto by author for me. I know that she currently writes a lot in sci-fi, however, I will pretty much read anything that she puts out, whether it be fantasy, whether it be contemporary. If she put out something historical, I would read it. I have just been a fan of her writing style for quite some time. I mostly love the way that Veronica Roth writes her characters. Ever since reading Divergent for the very first time, I have been connected to Triss as a character, and every other character that I've read from Veronica Roth, I've been able to connect on some sort of level. And I think the only exception to that rule were the characters in the Carve the Mark duology, but I think it was because of the controversy at the time that kind of stood in the way of connecting to that duology. However, with Chosen Ones and with Poster Girl, it has been a very similar situation. I feel nostalgic every single time I pick a Veronica Roth novel up. I'm so looking forward to the Antigone reimagining, but I mean, the recommended retail price for that hardback novella is $33. In this economy, really? I'm kind of waiting for that that one to drop in price, or like for there to be some sort of sale at a Dimmicks and then I can pick it up, because I really want to read Arch Conspirator, but I will do that sometime later. I will pick it up sometime later. Right now, I'm trying to be smart with my money. However, that does not change the fact that I will pick it up at some point, because Veronica Roth is an auto by author for me. I must pick it up. I will pretty much pick up anything by Veronica Roth because her writing style feels very homely to me. And you know what? She didn't even have to write another dystopian series for me to want to pick her books up. And that's incredible, because I loved Divergent, and I know that Veronica Roth has written another dystopian book, and that was also Poster Girl. And you know what? Veronica Roth does do dystopian themes these days, but she doesn't lean into it as heavily as she did with the Divergent trilogy. However, I like anything that she writes. It doesn't have to be like Divergent in order for me to read it, because I know I'm gonna have a good time, because I feel nostalgia through her writing style. It's incredible. And the next auto by author I have to mention is one that is quite obvious, and that, my friends, is Sarah J Maas. I've read every Sarah J Maas novel out there at the moment, including the Catwoman one, and I know I'm gonna keep reading them because I like the world of Sarah J Maas. I don't really need to explain this one too much. I think any Sarah J Maas fan will get it. If you're not a fan, but if you've read Sarah J Maas, I think you might be tired of it, but I mean, it is what it is. All comes down to the fact that I have been a fan of Sarah J Maas since I was 19, so that's been like 8 years, so it's kind of like difficult to go back. At this point, I'm just sticking it out. I feel like because I started and I proceeded on to a certain point, I have to commit. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I enjoy these books. They're good comfort reads, but I don't know if I'm gonna quit SJM anytime soon. And the next auto by author I have to talk about is an author I discovered last year. I mean, I've known about them for a while, but I finally read a series from them last year and I was hooked onto their writing. So I just knew that I had to read everything and anything by Laura Thalassa. At the moment, I've read 3 series by Laura Thalassa. I'm so excited to read Bewitched and some of their other backlist series. The Bargainer trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It's a good trilogy to start off with when it comes to Laura Thalassa's works. I also read the Unearthly series, and it's not amazing because it was one of her earlier works. However, it gets really good, and toward the end of the series, it very much kind of reminded me of the Bargainer trilogy. However, it did not capture the same magic because Calypso and Desmond Flynn were not in the series. But I still very much enjoyed it and found it just as comforting as the Bargainer trilogy. And I mean, with the Four Horsemen series, I feel like everyone knows how I feel about that series. That book series gave me like the biggest series hangover ever. I pretty much read all 4 of the books within like 72 hours, and I cried about it. I sobbed about it. I was raving to Camilo about it. I lost so much sleep over the Four Horsemen series. That all being said, based on the 3 series I've read by Laura Thalassa, all of them have stuck with me, so I can kind of guarantee that anything that she writes will stick with me. I just know, like, regardless of the genre that Laura Thalassa writes in, I will love it. She has not disappointed me yet in the 12 books I've read from her. So that's kind of promising, right? And the next auto by author I would like to talk about today is an author I just appreciate as a person. I don't care what they write going forward. I want to support them as a person. They could potentially write a 5-star book, or they could potentially write a 1-star book. Look, at this point, I don't care. I just want to support Katee Robert. I have rated a book 5 stars from them, and the next book in that series, I have also rated a 1 star. So that's why I brought it up. But the Wicked Villain series in particular, each book was like a hit or miss. I mean, majority of the series I liked. I'm pretty sure I liked the series for the most part. However, The Sea Witch got a 1 star from me. That all being said, I'm very much interested in anything else that she puts out. I even want to read some of her backlist books. I kind of do want to read some of the books that she has set in the Mafia as well. I'm very much interested in the lot from Katee Robert, and I think I'm even more motivated to pick them up because I follow Katee Robert on Instagram, and oh boy, is she funny. I very much love binge watching all of her reels and TikToks. Her personality is something I cannot get enough of, and I love her books as well. I love what she puts into her books. I just don't get tired of it. I mean, yes, sometimes I have to take breaks because, oh my goodness, sometimes these get really deep and right in the feels. However, I've loved almost everything that she's put out so far, and I just want to support her as a person, so I'm gonna be automatically buying her books. As soon as Katee Robert announces a new book, it automatically goes on my most anticipated releases, and I will buy it. That's just how it works. And the next auto by author I have to mention is Elise Kova. So far, I believe majority of her books are on my shelves. I think the only books that are not on my shelves from her are the prequel to Air Awakens that follow some of the side characters. I still need to read that series because I think I would much prefer the prequels over the sequel series, and I think one of the series that she's co-written. But majority of Elise Kova's books are on my shelves, and every single time Elise Kova lists a book for pre-order, I immediately purchase it. I don't care whether or not I'm caught up, I will purchase the books. The Married to Magic series I'm not caught up on, yet I'm pretty much automatically buying them. With the Trial of Sorcerers series, which is a spin-off from Era Awakens, with that series, Elise Kova has been releasing every book yearly, and I believe with the Married to Magic series, it's becoming a similar situation. I have not continued on with the Married to Magic series, but what's even worse is that we are like 3 books into the Trial of Sorcerers series. I believe it might be a 5-book series to kind of go along with the standard for an Elise Kova series in general. I haven't read a single book in that series yet. I know, I've wanted to read more books in the Era Awakens world for quite some time, and I haven't. I have not started or continued on with the Trial of Sorcerers series, and I have been pre-ordering those hardbacks from the moment they go on pre-order. Like, I don't want to miss out. I have FOMO when it comes to Elise Kova's hardbacks, but why am I doing this to myself? Elise Kova is one of my favorite authors of all time, but I mean, that should mean that I should be reading her books, and I'm just not. Even though I've read like majority of her backlist, maybe even half at this point, I need to continue on with the books that she's putting out, and I mean, I'm automatically buying them anyway. That's not stopping anytime soon. Era Awakens and The Alchemist of Loom left a long-lasting impression on me. I love those 2 series. I'm not a big fan of the Vortex Chronicles, unfortunately, but I love the original Era Awakens series, and I still think about these characters to this day, and I just feel emotional every single time I think about that series. So I know I am going to be somewhat emotionally attached to anything else that she puts out. And another fantasy romance writer that just so happens to be an auto by author for me is Sandra Odette. So I initially started reading Sandra Odette from the beginning of last year. I read her Layla trilogy, which is now known as a different name, and each of the books are now being republished because Sandra Odette is now rewriting / editing the initial trilogy that she put out. And I very much appreciated it in its first form, but I mean, I totally understand her decision there. But then I read the Fair Isle trilogy by Sandra Odette and immediately fell in love, and now I will pretty much read anything that she puts out in this world and anything that she puts out into the world in general, because oh my goodness, the way that she's able to write her characters and the way that she adds dimension to them is absolutely incredible. I really love the characters in this series. There were times that I got annoyed with the main character in the Fair Isle trilogy. That all being said, I kind of like how those aspects of, like, you know, good and evil and being human versus being immortal, I personally loved exploring the morally gray aspects of that. And to top it all off, Sandra Odette really knows how to write some hot scenes, like some bodice ripping scenes, if you will. I appreciate the Fair Isle trilogy, the Layla trilogy, and the Entangled with Fae series. I'm looking forward to reading anything else that she puts out. I don't know whether or not she's going to continue writing in this world. I mean, I would appreciate if she did, but if she wants to say goodbye and move on to something else, then, you know, I'm more than happy to read something else by Sandra Odette. The second last auto by author I would like to bring up today is a recent favorite. In fact, the last 2 I have to mention are recent favorites, and that, my friends, is indeed Tiffany Roberts. Tiffany Roberts are actually an author duo. They are actually a married couple who write romance novels together, and I am living for it. So far, I've only read 2 books by Tiffany Roberts, Escaping Wonderland and His Darkest Craving. What I love about their books so much is that there is a comforting quality to them. Yes, each of the books that I've read from them are standalones, but for some reason, both standalones have stuck with me, and it takes a lot for a standalone to stick with me. And yeah, I have not read majority of their backlist, but I do intend to. The reason why I have not purchased them all in one hit is because I'm currently waiting on them to update some of their covers. At the moment, they are updating some of their covers to be more like fan art than stock image photos. That is more my style. I mean, look at this Escaping Wonderland cover. I really love the style of this, and I think that's what they're going with for majority of their covers going forward. So at the moment, I'm just waiting on their covers to change into these styles, and you know, I just admire them on my shelves because I do love myself a pretty cover, but I also really like myself a good book. And with Tiffany Roberts' books so far, they have been good. So I'm very much looking forward to purchasing more from them. Majority of their books are kind of like monster romance books. You know that they are going to make for a good time. And the final auto by author I would like to mention on this list today is Jaybri. Jaybri wrote the Bonds That Tie series, which has become a new favorite of mine. I had a massive book hangover even after reading book 1. That I still struggle with to this day. And I know that I want to read the rest of her books already. I'm pretty sure every other book that she's written, or majority of them so far, are like more contemporary, whereas this one was kind of like a fantasy dystopian, and I'm very much looking forward to the new series that she's putting out sometime soon. I'm still trying to work out whether or not I want books with cover models on them on my shelves, so I am trying to work out whether I should purchase Jaybri's backlist, but regardless, I will probably listen to those on audiobook. I'll probably purchase them on audiobook because, oh my goodness, the way that she was able to grip me with the Bonds That Tie series was incredible. And yes, I acknowledge the Bonds That Tie series is a little trashy, but it was my kind of trash. So I just know that anything else that she puts out is either going to be like really good or like my kind of trash. What I do know is that I definitely want to support a fellow Australian creator. Jaybri is actually from Australia, and it just made me even more excited to pick this series up. I read it and absolutely devoured it. I pretty much devoured this series within 48 hours, and I mean, it's a 6-book series, and all the books are like standard size. Like, I mean, this one in particular is like a 400-page book. The other books in the series are leaning closer toward 500 pages, so the fact that I was able to do that in 48 hours because I was so addicted is incredible. It's a promising sign that I might just enjoy the other books from Jaybri, so I consider Jaybri a new auto-buy author. And I kind of wish that I read this series before I filled out my rare pre-order form, because I probably would have pre-ordered like all of her books to be signed. I literally only got one book by Jaybri, and that's devastating because I would have gotten her backlist if I knew that I would have liked the Bonds That Tie series, or if I had read the Bonds That Tie series, because I love it now and I would purchase any book that she puts out based on it. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the blue heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. My G-Swizzle books on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/G-Swizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm a G-Swizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.